Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm very excited to bring you a review for the new Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom Wave 4 Deluxe figure, Shadow Panther. I was lucky enough to obtain Shadow Panther and his wavemate Waspinator earlier than most people in the US through an online Canadian retailer, though I won't be doing business with them again because turns out when you order stuff from the US, whatever dollar amount they have listed magically changes from Canadian to US, which if you know exchange rates, that's a huge markup. So I grossly overpaid for these things and I won't be doing that again. For anyone not familiar with Shadow Panther, he began life as a Takara exclusive black recolor of the Beast Wars Cheetor toy, and he was characterized as a Predacon undercover agent who used his resemblance to Cheetor to trick unsuspecting Maximals. The toy was, some years later, released by Hasbro as an exclusive, and then they went on to actually change his name from Shadow Panther to Tripredacus Agent, which was the name they were using for the Transmetal 2 Ravage figure. So they were trying to imply that this was the same guy. So I guess depending on your sources, Shadow Panther is either some form of Ravage or he's his own separate character. Personally, since most of the Beast Wars fiction is centered around the show, I'm going to lean toward he's just a separate character. You know, Ravage had his own form, which is getting a toy a little bit later this year and is going to be a heavy retool of the Cheetor figure. So neatly, it'll be the first time I'm able to have Shadow Panther and Ravage on one shelf together. So I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, if you've seen my reviews before, you know how this goes. We're going to take a look at Shadow Panther's packaging. Then we'll open it up. We'll take a look at the golden disc card inside. Hopefully we'll get something new. We'll look at the instructions, and then we'll see Shadow Panther himself in both Beast and Robot modes. Naturally, I'll be doing plenty of group shots and comparisons today. And then at the end of the video, I'll get my final thoughts. So Shadow Panther comes in your standard Kingdom Deluxe packaging. You get your half window here showing off the toy, and then you get the artwork that stretches around from the front to the side. And I believe it's all just a straight recolor of Cheetor's artwork, with the big difference being the new head, which you can see here is based off of the classic Mutant head feature that the original Cheetor toy had. I kind of have mixed feelings with this approach. On the one hand, it does help Shadow Panther stand out and not just be yet another recolor of Cheetor. However, there's that part of me that missed out on the original toy that was kind of hoping to get the Cheetor-based head, so I don't know. It's really just going to come down to personal taste whether or not you think this was a good move. But I will say they did capture the look of the Mutant mask very, very well. It's a little squished because, you know, it's got to fit inside and everything, but overall it looks pretty good. I like it. So we turn this around to the back. Oh, yeah, by the way, he's number 31 in the line. Waspinator is 34, so there's a gap of 3 figures between them. I'm not sure why. Right on the back of the box, you get renders of the toy in both Beast and Robot modes. It takes 20 steps to transform, and his transformation, you know, naturally would be identical to Cheetor's. And the render does look pretty faithful overall to the finished product. I don't see any real marked differences. Even like the color shades seem to be the same, which is kind of rare that the render and the finished product are like identical. But we'll see. I'll open this up and see if there are any differences with the actual physical toy. Okay, so we get our new golden disc card, and you can see this one is Unicron. So that's pretty exciting. I haven't had a Unicron card yet. You got this really great artwork of the character where his fist is so huge and mighty that it's actually like extending over the edge of the card there. So pretty neat. Now let's see what fate has in store for the Planet Eater. Whoop. Okay, look at this. Alright, so this is a shot of what appears to be Unicron eating Cybertron, which is neat. And what does this say? Ooh, it says devours Cybertron. Boy, that really just adds insult to injury, doesn't it? So, yeah, that is one potential future where Unicron's victorious and he eats Cybertron. In fact, it's happened in a number of universes. Here's our instruction book for Shadow Panther. See his name right here, his number, nice render of him on the front. Get a quick little how-to for wielding his weapon, though they got it going in backwards. Not very useful if the blade is facing away from you, you know. And then we get our transformation from robot to panther, or really cheetah, color like a panther. Kind of the same vein as old Skywarp from the 2-pack, right? He's just a falcon colored like an eagle. But them's the nature of repaints and stuff. Here's Shadow Panther's Beast mode. And like I said, It's really not shaped like a panther, but this is nothing new with the Beast Wars cat guys, right? Like, your two original ones, your Cheetor and your Tigatron, they were just straight recolors of each other, despite the fact that a cheetah and a tiger are actually shaped very differently. In fact, the original mold is much more tiger than cheetah looking. So really, you could say that Cheetor was a recolor of Tigatron. And then, of course, the original Shadow Panther followed suit, so he was a big old bulky cat. Now, in this case, he's too light, because now, instead of being recolored from a tiger-shaped cheetah, he's just recolored from a cheetah-shaped cheetah. So he's never really going to get his own unique cat mold, unfortunately. But, I mean, it still looks good. It looks enough like a panther that, I would look at this and know what they're trying to do. So overall, he looks really, really cool. He's got the red eyes, like the old toy, which is neat. Mouth still moves. The joints are all still nice and tight, nothing floppy or loose. They did paint the back of the Panther like silver, so in the vein of the regular Kingdom Cheetor. And with the Netflix Cheetor, they had to kind of make a compromise where they left the backs of the cheetah legs unpainted, but that also meant that there was no blue coloring on the robot shins. So in this case, they went with the more robot accuracy than the cheetah accuracy that the Netflix toy had. Speaking of our Cheetors, here they are. You have Kingdom Cheetor on the left, done up in a brighter shade of yellow with orange cheetah eyes. And then over here on the right, you get the Netflix Cheetor, which is just a recolor of the Kingdom one, done up in colors much closer to the original toy. And they give him the green cheetah eyes, like the show. And like I said, backs of his legs are left unpainted. So there's a lot of give and take with this. There doesn't seem to be a definitively perfect version of Cheetor out there. They always had to compromise something to either favor one mode or the other. But yeah, I'll say Shadow Panther, he looks right at home with these guys. This really does feel like, a Beast Wars 2.0, where we're just getting more intricate, more articulated versions of the toys we got way back when. And, seeing these two next to each other, or three, I guess, I mean, it really gives you that feel that we've just time traveled back to, like, the late 90s. So I dig that. And, of course, I don't have the original Shadow Panther to compare this guy to, but I can tell you from memory that the colors seem to be pretty spot on, which is unlike this guy, because with Kingdom Cheetor, they made some strange choices with the coloring, especially the shade of blue used, where they went this, like, light baby blue that's not present on any version of Cheetor up to that point. So, yeah, I'm not really sure why they did that. The more cynical part of me thinks they made this oddly colored Cheetor just so we'd buy the Netflix one later, because the Netflix one just comes much, much closer to home. All right, now we get to see Shadow Panther in his robot mode. And I gotta say, this thing looks gorgeous. The silver paint they use on him, it's really interesting. It's shiny, but also kind of flat at the same time, like a brushed metal. I really like the way it came out, especially on the shins here and the feet. Looks really, really good. One thing that makes this guy really unique, he's the only version of this mold that actually has the robot forearms painted. Neither Cheetor did that, and I'm guessing the only reason they were willing to paint the forearms is because they didn't have to paint spots and underbelly fur all over this guy, since the cheetah mode's largely unpainted. What's really cool is they even put a Predacon symbol on his forearm, which very much reminds me of Beast Wars Ravage. Thus, solidifying a possible connection between them, though I think overall most people would agree he and Ravage are separate characters. Especially since now that they're releasing him and Ravage under the War for Cybertron banner, and, this guy's character description online really hints at him just being a separate character entirely. But you can see he looks really cool. All his joints, just like in the cheetah mode, are still nice and tight. No mold degradation or anything yet, so that's good. The mutant head looks really cool. What's interesting is that the back of the head, that half of it, that's the same piece that the regular Cheetor uses. So it's just the front half that's been, plugged on there that's different. Which is a smart way of doing it. It makes sense to do it that way. I have his legs folded across behind each other, like animation style, though you can just have them hanging down or whatever you want to do. And yeah, I really dig the way this came out. Like, this very, very much reminds me of the original toy, just far more posable. Now, I don't have the original Shadow Panther to show off to you, but I do have some version of the original Cheetor. This is the 10th anniversary one. I actually have the new vintage one, but I haven't reviewed it yet, so I don't want to spoil it. But I just wanted to show you the mutant head on the original toy and what that looked like and how well they really captured that here. Like I said, it's more kind of pushed in, more like an actual mask than a separate, I don't know, insectoid monster head. But you can see they have all the details there. They got like the little ear bits, the big buggy eyes, the nostrils, the mandible looking things hanging down. So, I mean, really a fantastic job. I love that they managed to capture this mutant head so well. Just, it looks really, really good. I dig it. And to round things off, we come back to our new Cheetors and their robot modes. So you can see just how the colors and the head sculpts and everything compare. And you can see what I was saying, that they never bother to paint the forearm area or the hands or anything of the Cheetor characters. And I'm guessing it's because they decided they used up all the paint budget on the spots and stuff. Here's the back of the cheetah legs I was talking about. You can see on the Kingdom one, he actually gets quite a bit of blue paint to at least try to recreate how the original robot mode shins looked. This time, for Netflix, they opted to leave it unpainted, and to some extent, like that I get. I get, if you wanted to give the cheetah a little bit more show accuracy, and really just real-life accuracy, you'd want to leave those unpainted. What I've never understood is why the blade did not get painted on this version. I mean, I know why. Money, right? But it's really weird to me because this toy, it has less paint than the Kingdom one. Like, the colors are better in my opinion. I still prefer this version overall, but the fact that they wouldn't even bother painting the tail blade when it's painted on every other version of this, really, it feels like a slap in the face. It's like, look, you guys just refuse to give us a perfect Cheetor, don't you? Like, this one's subjective, whether or not you want these painted, right? It can go either way. There's no reason not to paint this. There's no reason. It just looks unfinished. So that really does bug me, and I'll get off that, though, because I harped on enough on his review. The other thing to talk about is the infamous neck tab. So there's that little tiny tab at the base of the cheetah head. Right now it's tucked underneath his robot head. And sadly, they haven't done anything to change it since the Cheetor releases. It still is this very flimsy little tab that's prone to snapping off. Now, so far, I've managed to keep his intact and his. My Netflix one, unfortunately, when I was transforming it the last time I messed with this thing, I did end up snapping that neck tab off despite being careful. So it seems to be one of those toys that is just kind of doomed to self-destruct if you transform it enough times, because the amount of stress you put on that tab to tuck it underneath the robot head is just greater than what that little tiny sliver of plastic can hold up to. Now, luckily, it doesn't affect much, right? If you transform him right, the cat head will stay up just fine in beast mode, right? It's not going to flop down or anything, so the tab's kind of unnecessary anyway. But it is always unfortunate when you have a toy that, just by handling it, you're probably going to break it and thereby greatly diminish its value. So just understand there's probably like a 90% chance that the neck tab on your guy is going to break at some point. And this completes our look at the new Kingdom Shadow Panther. Overall, I really dig this guy. He does everything that he needs to do, right? He serves as a mostly black recolor of Cheetor. He doesn't skimp on the paint at all. Everything that's supposed to be painted is painted, which I absolutely love. In some ways, he's definitely an improvement over the two Cheetors because the robot mode is just a lot more complete looking. As far as the mutant head, again, that's entirely up to your personal preference. I think it's a really cool nod to that. It's something that doesn't really get a lot of attention in modern toys. I know, like, Masterpiece Optimus Primal had like an optional mutant head, and did some version, I think the Shadow Panther Masterpiece had one you could slap on there too. But at regular retail, they tend to just kind of ignore those, which I think is a shame because it was one of the neater little gimmicks of early Beast Wars toys. So part of me disappointed that it's not the regular Cheetor-based head because I never did get the old version of Shadow Panther. But I do like what they did. I think it was very creative, and it's done very well. It looks just like the mutant head, so I dig it. The fact that his tolerances are all good is a plus. And overall, I have really no qualms with this toy at all. I absolutely love it. I think the Predacon symbol on the painted forearm is really nice looking. The only problems that would exist with this toy are just mold-based, right? The neck tab thing, and some people aren't crazy about the way that this mold transforms with the legs and all that. But for what it is, I think they did a just fantastic job, and I'm more pleased with him than I am either version of the Cheetor. So personally, I recommend picking this up. It is already showing up at US retail. They've been spotted on the West Coast area. which is sad because Hasbro hasn't even acknowledged their existence yet. Like, they still haven't announced the Wave 4, Wave 5 toys, despite the fact that they've been seen in hand, and now they're being released. And I mean, they're just really falling behind with, staying on top of, the announcements and controlling information. And I think they've just given up at this point, honestly. It really seems like we're getting less and less reveals from official sources, and things are either getting stolen and leaked, or they're just popping up in stores without any prior announcement. And we've seen it happen in the past, but it's usually relegated to things like Cyberverse and RID. It didn't tend to happen a lot in the main collector lines, but now it's happening all the time. And I think, honestly, the marketing team's just giving up, which I hate, because I'd really rather see it come from them than I would somebody that paid a factory worker in Vietnam to steal stuff for them. I'm not a fan of that. So, yeah, if you can find one of these, hopefully they're turn up at your local Walmart or Target. I'd pick him up. I think he's really great. He's a really, really cool character that doesn't get a whole lot of attention. And, I think if you do pick this up, you'll very much enjoy it. Of course, that is just my take on this toy. Now I want to know what you all think of Shadow Panther. Do you see yourselves getting this? Do you think it's really cool? Or are you not interested in just a repaint? Or you don't like the Cheetor mold? Any and all feedback's always welcome in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. And thank you for joining me for this look at the brand new Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom Deluxe Class Shadow Panther. And with all that said, I will see you next time.